What's up guys, welcome to the Bold Hairspring. If you're new to the channel, my name is Ivan and in this video we'll be having a look at one super cool G-Shock, which is part of the aviation inspired Gravitymaster lineup. This is the GW-A1000FC. It has orange accents and it comes on this really good resin bracelet. And out of the 4 G-Shocks I've reviewed on the channel, I believe this one is the most interesting. So let's get into it. The GW-A1000 series has been discontinued for at least 6 years now, and that's because this model is a little bit old. In fact, it was released in 2012, and guys, I remember that year very well as at the time I was an exchange student in Japan. And while there, I bought the blue accent version, which I kept for a long time, until 2 years ago when I made the huge mistake of selling it. Needless to say that I've regretted that decision ever since. Then a year later I saw this one brand new for €380. I felt nostalgic and bought it immediately, so here it is. Before we continue with the review, I would like to recommend you check out my friends at relojeriaesparza.com, as this is where I buy pretty much all of my G-Shocks from. They're based in Spain, but they do ship internationally and you can always contact them via their Facebook page. I would like to clear out that I'm not affiliated to them or anything like that, it's just that their service is excellent and they have a huge selection of Casio and Seiko watches. Plus, you'll be surprised that at the moment of recording this video, they have the GA-2100 in stock. My latest purchase from them is the newest Seiko Alpinist Limited Edition SPB199J, so subscribe if you don't want to miss that review coming in the following weeks. And back to the GW-A1000, guys, if you like G-Shock watches, I think you'll find this piece very interesting, as it combines great design with great functionality. And talking about the design, I really love how tough and aggressive it looks. It's just a very mean looking watch. It's also quite substantial. The case diameter is 52mm at its widest, but if we measure it from here to here, it's about 45mm. The length from this point to this point is 54mm, and finally the thickness is 16.4mm. However, in reality this Casio is one of the most comfortable G-Shocks out there, and considering its large dimensions, it's actually very wearable. And because of how the bracelet is integrated to the case, the watch wraps around the wrist very nicely without forming any gaps. On my 17cm or 6.7 inch wrist, the watch feels very comfortable and very light as it weighs only 110 grams. When it comes to the build quality, this watch is a tank. The case is made of resin, there is a mineral crystal on top and the solid stainless steel case back on the bottom. The bracelet is also very well made. It's made out of resin with the exception of the black paint coated clasp, which is made of steel. And note that this is not the same bracelet as the one that can be seen on some G-Shock Squares and some 6900s. In fact, let me put it next to my GW-6900BC so that you can better understand what I mean. So the difference here is that this one is completely made out of resin, while the combi bracelet is made out of resin and metal for the center links. And while both bracelets are great, the one on the GW-A1000 feels a little bit more solid and better made. And you gotta love this dial, guys. It really pops due to the orange accents, which also remind me of the GW-G1000 Maharishi edition. Then the bold hour markers are part of the chapter ring and give the dial quite a bit of a 3D look, and you also get some nice distortions because the mineral crystal is domed. On the dial we also find 2 sub-registers. The one at 12 o'clock shows the current time in a 12-hour format, while the one at 6 is used for showing the day of the week as well as the different modes. And finally there is a date window at 3 o'clock. And even though there is a lot of going on here, the dial is very legible. Next, let's talk about the functionality of this piece. Being a G-Shock, it comes with all standard features such as world time, and you can cycle through the different modes by pressing the button on the left side of the case. After world time comes the stopwatch mode. I really like how the seconds hand literally glides when you start it, and thanks to it you can time periods with a precision of up to 1/100th of a second. The next mode is a countdown timer, and again the action of the seconds hand here is very cool as it goes backwards. And the last mode is your alarm. But that's not all, guys. This watch has one unusual feature that I like quite a lot and I use it to show off whenever I'm wearing this watch. It has a thermometer and this right here is the sensor. So if you press the upper right button, you'll see the second hand moving to -Celsius or a +Celsius position depending on the current temperature, and immediately after that you'll see the main hands moving. When they stop, the hour hand indicates the first digit, while the minutes hand indicates the second digit of the current reading. Pretty cool, isn't it? Now let's talk about the movement, or better said the module that's powering the watch. It is the 5240. It's tough solar and it's multiband 6, so you'll be able to get a radio signal in most parts of the world. In Spain the watch receives the signal pretty much every night, and as a result it's one of my most accurate watches. But what I like the most about this module is that the power saving feature seems to be super effective, as according to Casio, this watch can stay in complete darkness for 29 months on a full charge, and that's very impressive. Okay, so far so good, but is there anything negative about this watch that you should be aware about? Well, the first thing is that since it's been discontinued for so long, it will be hard to find it at a decent price. There are a few on eBay going for about €500, and at that price it might not be the best option for you, but more on that in a minute. The second thing that's a little bit disappointing, in my opinion at least, is the lack of a backlight. And the lume on the hands and hour markers is not what I would call great, as it fades a little bit too quickly, to be honest. Other than that, it's one of the nicer G-Shocks out there. In the case that you really like this watch but you can't find it anywhere, or you can't find a good deal on it, then you may want to consider some of the alternatives. For instance, the GW-A1000, which costs about €300, is probably one of the most feature-packed G-Shocks available right now. It has thermometer, barometer, altimeter, Bluetooth, and the list just goes on. It's not solar powered though, so if that's important for you, then have a look at the GST-B200, which has all the standard functions, and it's also made of metal for the most part. In fact, I have the rose gold version of that one and totally love it. You can check my review of it if you haven't already. So, this rare G-Shock is one of my favorite in the collection and definitely the most unique one, thanks to its fully analog dial with analog built-in thermometer. If you are a G-Shock collector and you can find one in the realm of €400, then I highly recommend it. Thanks for watching guys, if you enjoyed this video give it a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.